You marry the home, but you date the rate. Even with rates where they are right now, now is the opportunity to buy. If you buy when the rates are a little bit high, it's okay. You can refinance and redate a lower, cuter rate when those rates drop.
Danger! Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Robert here. A lot of you follow the advice of your realtor when they advise you to date the rate, marry the house, or marry the house, date the rate. And it's coming back to bite. Now, I'm not here to pile on or to make you feel sad, but we have to help those that are coming behind you understand that you don't buy homes based upon the fear of missing out or what anyone else tells you, but we have to learn how to look at the numbers. The aesthetic of the realtor doesn't matter. What they drive doesn't matter. The things that they put online to draw you in doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you have to know your numbers. And I know that's not the sexy part, and that's not the part that a lot of us want to do. But when we do those things, we don't date the wrong people, right? Because behaviors leave clues, and we for sure don't make a long-term commitment and marry the wrong partner that you were dating, only to find out that you can't get out of that thing so easy when your payments go up because taxes and insurance, they go up. That's not a new phenomenon. It's just you didn't know about it until you made the commitment. So that's what the video today is going to be about. But before we go too much farther, let me identify myself. I'm a lender. And if you want to learn how to properly read your numbers and understand how much home you really can afford with some buffer, some forecasting of what could and will happen with home ownership so that you're not in a position where you're remorseful or hate the decision that you made, well, my contact information will be pinned either in the top comment or for sure in the description below. Now let's get into it.
Do you guys remember that quote with date the rate, marry the house? Well, a lot of homeowners are now in trouble because of that. In 2022, I had a listing that I was representing the seller on. The buyer that ended up purchasing that property walked into it with their agent, and their agent said in front of me, remember, you are buying the house, you're dating the rate, and you will be able to refinance in 6 months to a year. Well, fast forward to now, 3 years later, they're probably going to have to be forced to put their property for sale. They called me for a listing appointment because they cannot afford to keep that property anymore. The reason for this is their buy down expired, their insurance increased, their property tax increased, and everything else is so much more expensive that they can literally not afford keeping the house. They're literally house poor. The worst mistake you can make whenever you're buying a house is maximizing your budget and going to your debt to income 45-50%. At that point, you are house poor. And if anything happens with your income, or if you're getting any type of increase in property tax, insurance, or cost of living, you are in a bad situation.
Thank you, Diana. Gracias. I think you might have a Spanish background. You may be German. I don't know. Dankeschön, if that's the case. Nonetheless, thank you for letting us know and sharing this experience that you had at the closing table. I took some notes because I want to slow down and hit a couple of things. And the first thing is this, to you buyers out there that have not gone through this process yet. It is your responsibility to know what you can and cannot afford. And whenever we want something, all of us, me included, we tend to make in our minds excuses, or we tend to lie to ourselves and say we're going to do things that we've not done in the past. And so you can't do that when it comes to one of the largest decisions that you'll probably have financially as an adult. Okay. And what I mean by that is this: when you understand your numbers, your net income and your expenses that you currently have, you don't make assumptions that I'm going to make $100,000 more next year. I mean, it sounds good, but you got to go back in order to go forward. So do this. Take an average of the 3 years of income that you've had. All right. And you should be able to see a trend of how much you can expect with a raise or anything of that nature. If you have any anomalies like we had during the pandemic, a lot of realtors made a lot of money. And you got to fill in yourself. A lot of lenders made a lot of money. You got to fill in yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that can have you think that that's how things are going to go for a long period of time. And those are anomalies. So you take the anomalies out. If you made a ton of money and you're looking for the trend, because the trend is your friend. Okay. So if you do that, that will prevent you from being drawn in and enticed by the lust of your flesh, because it happens to me too. That's really what your realtor and your lender are for. If you allow them to do the job, is to help you get out of the emotional side of your brain and help you look at the logical side, the numbers. Okay. Then buy downs. Buy downs are getting a bad rap. It's akin to adjustable rate mortgages and how they got a bad rap during, let's call it 2008 to 2012. And a lot of you guys that are regurgitating things today that try to use that time frame of the housing meltdown that actually happened, you really don't understand the factors that went into it. But there's always got to be a villain, right? So adjustable rate mortgages, there's nothing wrong with adjustable rate mortgages. They're not for everybody. Okay. Same thing with buy downs. Nothing wrong with buy downs. They're not for everybody. And they should not be for you to be able to get into a home. This is what I mean. You need to qualify at the rate that rates are currently are now, which you have to with a buy down. But you have to understand that we're not in Vegas. You're not tapping the what is that? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't gamble. You're not gambling. Okay. So when you go into this home purchase, you have to know and understand that I can afford the start rate, the full rate, the start rate, not the buy down, especially if it's temporarily. And when you go into that, knowing that, hey, if rates don't go down and I don't refinance, I'm good to go. You see what I'm saying? Let's move forward. What else did she say here? Taxes and insurance. What are the probabilities of taxes and insurance going up when our government, we the people, have printed all of this money and it's out in the economy? And so now everybody has access to more funds, and the goods that we're buying, say houses, they're limited. There's a finite amount of them. And so the more people you have saying, hey, I want to buy said house, guess what the price does? It goes up. That's inflation, real quick. So because of that, taxes and insurance are going to go up. And we all have to stop crying about taxes, because we all benefit from taxes. You driving on roads, a lot of things. Now, is there some waste going on with taxes? There sure is. And looks like there's some reform on the horizon trying to ring that in, but it's not going to happen overnight. Said all that to say this, guys: taxes and insurance are a part of the game. And you're paying taxes and insurance if you rent or if you buy. What you have to determine is what's good for you. And the only way to do that is we're back to the numbers. We're back to the numbers, right? And then the last thing, DTI, debt to income ratio. Now, FHA, I'll use that as an example before we move forward. But FHA says, hey, you can get into a home. I could qualify you with a back-end ratio. That's the proposed house payment, and then the liabilities that show up on your credit report. Buy now, pay later if you have that kind of stuff, or any undisclosed debt, the minimum payments, all those things added up. Let's say your debt to income ratio is 56.99%. Now, should you be buying if your debt to income ratio is 56.99%? Think about it. And we're using gross income to qualify you. Now, I know for a fact a lot of folks don't come to me to buy because we talk about all these things and I really put the numbers before you and say, look at it. And a lot of you guys that are crying right now are akin to the folks that were crying back in the housing debacle where a lot of folks lost their homes, because same thing. They used to come to I used to have an office then and employees, and they used to come in and lie to my face, Mr. Lewis this and Mr. Lewis that and Mr. Lewis. And then next thing I know, Mr. Lewis don't see him anymore. But I run into them and they bought a house because they went to the builder. because the builder has a lender and the builder don't care about you. And you guys signed up for 228s and 327s. Those are adjustable rate mortgages that had fixed rate periods. And you did that. Not you guys, but those folks that did it. Only to see you 2-3 years later on the news talking about you was hoodwinked and bamboozled. We got to stop that. We got too much information now. You got to hold yourself accountable and live beneath, at minimum, at your means. But if you're smart, you live beneath your means and understand that we qualify on the gross, but you live on the net. So if you're still here, if I haven't ticked you off, let's listen to a professional. I want you guys to hear how a professional realtor in this case deals with issues that we're dealing with now. Higher rates, affordability. This is how she would go about doing it. And so if you're looking for a realtor or a lender, anybody that you're looking to help you make the decision that you need to make, this is the type of conversation that you want to hear from them. Check it out.
Marry the house, date the rate. I totally get it. It is such a cop-out if you are a real estate agent. It makes you sound like nothing more than a used car salesman. You need to be able to understand what is the fear, what is the concern, what is the question of your buyer about the rate. You need to be able to articulate why it is a good financial decision for them to buy now rather than later. That shit is gonna come back to bite you because the rates went up. If you thought that 2 and 3% interest rates was normal, I got news for you, you were wrong. So be able to understand what is the concern of the buyer and be able to explain and articulate to them why it makes sense for them to buy today or to wait.
See, Ms. Glenda's a pro. You see how she articulated what your realtor or lender should be able to do in this market, right? So just to reiterate, I should be able to address your fears, okay? False evidence appearing real. What's that false evidence? Well, people think that home ownership isn't affordable anymore. In fact, it's affordable for a lot of folks. The real issue with a lot of people that are making the most noise is they really don't have the income. And even if we go back to 2015, you couldn't afford it back then. So the real issue with those folks is this, and this is no shade, but you have to figure out how to be more productive to make more money. And so another thing we have to understand as far as all the fear that's being pushed out is this. There's never been 100% home ownership rate, never. And so there is a balance in everything. And so everybody that should own a home owns a home. Now, if you find yourself in the position where you're not a homeowner, that's fine as well. Only thing I would admonish for you to do is you gotta find a way to take some extra money, whatever the difference is that you have, and put it in a place to grow for your future self. So everybody doesn't have to be a homeowner. Number 2, concerns. As a home buyer, you have some concerns. And the way I address the concerns from my standpoint as a lender is this. What is your reason for buying? Is your family growing? Do you need some more space? Do you need to downsize? Has there been a death in the family? Has there been a new job opportunity? When you look at the reason you're buying, your primary residence, it implies that you need to put down some roots. So if you're in a position where your numbers make sense, but the reason for you to buy doesn't make sense, you shouldn't buy. Because of all of the money that was printed, minimum, you got to be there 5 years. I think 8 years minimum to 10. And so if that doesn't fit your time horizon for a primary residence and you still want to buy, maybe you look at buying a property as an investor from an investment standpoint. Maybe you're going to house hack, bring renters in, things of that nature. But there's ways to address your concerns. But your realtor, needs to know what your plans are. Why are you doing what it is that you're doing? Not because somebody looked pretty or handsome and they look prosperous. That's the wrong reason. And they came up with a catchy slogan because that's going to bite you every time. Last thing is this: questions. If you're dealing with anybody and they are frustrated and they don't want to answer your questions, a couple of things. You should run. Run, Forrest, run. Okay? Because that's not a relationship you should feel comfortable with. On the flip side, some of you guys just like asking questions. I've had to learn myself because I'm a giver. And some of you guys are takers, line steppers. So as long as you're asking questions within reason and you've hired the person, well, then that's the difference. But if you're getting free 99, check out the YouTube channels. Do some reading, do some research. We're in the age of information. And then once you have made the decision to hire somebody, that's different. They ought to answer all the questions that you have. So there you have it. Short and sweet. And I don't want to ramble because I'm getting better. If I'm getting better, you guys let me know. I like to know because we want to get better every time we come before you. My time is up, but I thank you for yours. I'm going to tell you like this. If you still want to get on the property ladder and everything that I've said during this video resonates in your spirit, is sizzling in your spirit, love to have a conversation. It's free to talk. The first 15 minutes is on me. It's free. Hit the comment or the description. Get on the calendar and let's see if we're a fit. Remember this. Let's be good to one another. Let grace abound. And watch this video right here before you get out of here. And for the rest of you guys, we'll talk to you on the next video. Indeed. Y'all be blessed.